Hello, everybody, and welcome to Luka Talks, I guess? I'm still undecided on what I'm going to call these videos. If it's your first time here, double welcome to you. Also, I love you. Welcome to, I guess technically the first video on this channel in the genre of some internet nobody rambles incessantly about something that they're really into right now. And today, that thing that I am really into right now is The Adventure Zone, a tabletop RPG podcast by the truly wonderful McElroy family. So I'm going to talk in broad strokes about the three main campaigns, because those are effectively the three different seasons of the show. There are two smaller campaigns, but they were experimental, and there's not really much to talk about with them, because I mean, they're fine. Dust is good, but I don't know, commitment doesn't interest me all that much. Anyway, so the first season of The Adventure Zone it's a D&D podcast. They play Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. The three main characters are named Taco, Magnus, and Merle, played by Justin, Travis, and Clint McElroy, respectively. The Adventure Zone balance is probably one of the best things that I've ever listened to, and you should almost definitely listen to it right now, literally right now. Turn this video off. Well, don't do that. But as soon as you finish watching this video, go listen through like the entirety of the Adventure Zone balance. It's actually like 69 parts, so that's like that'll take you a good few days to get through it. So maybe don't start on it right now. Like you can kind of space that out, especially during this current pandemic thing. That's something that you can occupy yourself with. I kind of like there's a lot to say about balance, but I think the most striking thing about it to me is how well they handle certain types of characters. And my previous video where I just talk incessantly about a thing was discussing trans representation in games media. So talking about this sort of thing specifically is sort of within my wheelhouse. The Adventure Zone balance has a really good cast of people of color, of gay folks. There's a trans character, and they're all handled way better than you might expect of a family of 4 cis-het white dudes. Justin's character, Taco, is a gay elf. There is also another character in there named... I'm not going to say their name, actually, because that's a huge spoiler. But there is another character in there that is a trans character, and them being trans is mostly incidental. And it's like, it's not really gone into, and it's just like, hey, this character is trans. They exist. That's enough about that. Let's get to know them, and they are such a good character. I have no reservations saying this. They are probably one of my favorite characters in fiction, and that's saying a lot considering there are a lot of characters in fiction, and this character is only present in like the back 1/8 of this season of the Adventure Zone. Griffin. Oh yeah, Griffin McElroy is also. I forgot to mention Griffin. He DMs the campaigns of the first 2 seasons, and he like the amount of effort that he put into writing the damn thing and setting everything up and planting little seeds that will eventually sprout into the bigger plot of the finale. He did such a good job, and the entire finale is mind-blowing. There are so many moments listening to it, even listening to it a second time like I did just like last week, I think. I cry a lot listening to the finale, especially during a specific moment with said character that I will not name presently. The entire finale of the Adventure Zone balance is absolutely worth every single second that it takes to get there. It is so good. It is beyond words how good it is. Though that's not technically true because it's a podcast and they use words to you know what I mean. Anyway, so that's broad strokes. I mean, I guess going a bit more into it, there's like, I don't know, I think 6 different little arcs within the first season. And basically the whole thing is Taco, Merle, and Magnus are adventurers because it's D&D. And they, after the first arc, become employed by an organization, I guess, known as the Bureau of Balance, whose sole goal in this world is to reclaim 7 artifacts that have untold magic power and can effectively destroy anything and have pretty much ruined life on this planet up until the Bureau of Balance was established, at which point they kind of like Men in Black wiped people's memories of these items and also of like the tragedies that befell their usage. So yeah, there's I guess 6 different arcs, I think. And then the finale? No, wait, hold on. There's 6, and then the arc leading up to the finale, and then the finale, which I think is like 3 episodes. And they all take place in various colorful, varying settings. I think my favorite arc of them is one that takes place in kind of like an Old West town. But it's got kind of like a Majora's Mask time loop thing going on, and it's very good, very interesting. Pedals to the Metal is also very good. That's the 2nd arc, I think. It has 2 characters who are very gay. It kind of falls into the trope of bury your gays, which is unfortunate. Though Griffin at the time wasn't aware that that was a trope, and I think they're working to rectify that in the comic adaptation of that arc, and also in the eventual cartoon that they're doing, I guess. This is a whole thing. The Adventure Zone is a whole thing, apparently, and I feel like now that I'm saying that, this video is sort of like redundant, because if it has a comic and also it's getting a cartoon, probably everybody has already listened to it, but if you haven't, you should probably get into it now. Yeah, so I kind of gotta talk briefly about Carrie and Killian, because they are 2 very, very good characters. You meet Killian in the first arc. She's a half orc, I think. And then Carrie is in the 4th arc. No. Yes. No. Yes. Yeah. Now that I think about it, Pedals to the Metal is the 3rd, because there's also one on a train, and it's a train heist, and that one's very cool. Anyway, there is a point later on in the campaign where there is a wedding between Carrie and Killian, and that's a big spoiler. But it's very good, and it's very lovely, and it's very wonderful, and oh my god, please listen to The Adventure Zone Balance. That's all I'm going to say about it, because I think saying much more about it is definitely a spoiler. There are so many twists and turns and so many things that you will definitely not see coming in this podcast. It's fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to move on to talking about The Adventure Zone Amnesty, which is the second full season of the podcast. In between Balance and Amnesty, there are 2 mini campaigns called Dust and Commitment. Dust is I think they are playing Urban Champions. No, is that Urban Shadows? Urban Shadows. Yes, that's the one. I just kind of had to do a quick Google. And it's set in like a frontier town, and there's like werewolves and vampires and, stuff like that. But it's a frontier town, so it's like kind of modern. Well, not modern, but like Wild West. You know what I mean. And Commitment is a superhero story. Dust is DM'd by Travis, who I love, by the way. Travis is the best. I love Travis a lot. Commitment is DM'd by Clint. They're the 3 boys' dad, and it's a superhero story. It's pretty good. The boys play some really interesting characters. There's one. There's a. Justin plays. I can't remember their names because it's been so long since I listened to it. But Travis plays a character who is like a female Thor, who like kind of like Thor, but kind of also like Hulk because she's like a more kind of like mousy girl normally, and then she eventually transforms into like a very, very, very Thor-like figure. And Commitment's good. It has some good moments, but it's very short, and there's not a whole lot to sink your teeth into because I feel like at the end of the mini arc it just kind of ends, and I don't think there's much in the way of like keeping that going. So I'm kind of glad they didn't. The Adventure Zone Amnesty, the second full season of the podcast. It is, well, first of all, they are not playing D&D in this one. They are playing Monster of the Week, and the entire campaign is, apparently, by Griffin's own admission, inspired by Supernatural, Buffy, and also Persona. Though the Persona elements are very, very light. I don't necessarily know what from Persona Griffin took inspiration from. Maybe the idea of like having the opportunity to hang out with characters within the narrative, but it's not very Persona. In fact, I think he did more Persona in one of the live shows where like it's actually set in like a high school. Anyway, so the Adventure Zone Amnesty is also very good. Griffin is DMing again. Justin plays a character named Duck Newton, who is an old, washed-up chosen one, sort of like Buffy, but he turned down the role of being a chosen one until he was in his like late 30s, early 40s, something like that. And he's a very, very, very good character. He is like borderline incapable of lying, and he just so does not want to be involved in any of this. Travis plays Aubrey. It's either Aubrey or Audrey. I think it's Aubrey. She is like a stage magician who at the start of the campaign finds out that she actually has magic fire powers, and she's very good. She's ADHD. She's bisexual. She has a giant bunny named it's a very good name. Dr. Harris Bonkers. A giant bunny. And Clint plays two characters, actually. He plays Ned Chicane, who is like a kind of like a Stan Pines from Gravity Falls sort of character. He runs like a museum of like cryptology, basically, or cryptozoology. Cryptology is a completely different thing. That's like decoding stuff, right? He runs a museum of cryptozoology. And he's also very, very good. He starts off not being a great character because it's the typical. You're gonna notice a trend with Clint's characters, and that they're very much they get a little bit samey. But Ned ends up having like very, very good character moments close to the end of the campaign. And he also plays, what the fuck is that character's name? Who, he doesn't get a whole lot of screen time because he comes in really late. But he's the archivist for the group that the characters join called the Pine Guard. And he was like possessed by the evil force in the fantasy world that the characters go to. And he eventually comes back, and he's fine, but he's also very similar to Ned. Clint plays Clint. That's the best description I have for Ned and Arlo, and also Merle, for the most part. So I'm not gonna talk much about Amnesty because I feel like that one's really good and also has a lot of really, 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 really good twists and turns. Oh, there's an FBI agent that ends up in love with Bigfoot. That's cool. That's a really good thing. I like that a lot. There's a lot of stuff like that. Like there's Bigfoot, there's Mothman. There's like goat people. it's a lot of really, 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 really good Monster of the Week kind of show stuff going on there. And I don't want to talk about it because I think it's my favorite campaign that they've done. Mostly because Monster of the Week stuff is more my jam than just like high fantasy D&D sort of stuff. Go listen to that one as well. Listen to Balance first, and then actually listen to Amnesty. I know people who skipped Amnesty, but Amnesty is really good. You should give it a shot. Now I'm going to talk about the Adventure Zone Graduation, which is the currently ongoing D&D campaign that they are doing. They have returned to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and I'm going to have to Google the characters' names because now that I'm listening to it all at once, it's hard to keep track of who is who. Okay, so the 3 main characters this time. Also, Travis is DMing, and he does a wonderful job. Justin plays a Fearbolg, who's kind of like a half giant sort of thing. He plays a Fearbolg, just named Fearbolg. Everybody calls him Master Fearbolg. There's a point where everybody's trying to come up with a name, and they call him Dr. Mushrooms, and I love that name, and I wish Justin played along with it, because that's such a good name. Griffin plays Sir Fitzroy Maplecourt, who is a wizard, ostensibly, who was originally trained to be like a knight, like a true and proper knight. And then his magic powers kind of came to him and ruined that. And Clint is playing Argo Keen, who is like a thief kind of guy, but he's also like a sailor kind of guy. And all of them are at the school of Hieronymus Wiggenstaff. Hieronymus Wiggenstaff's School for Heroism and Villainy. And they are not becoming heroes or villains. They are in the annex of the sidekick program. So they're training to become sidekicks to heroes and villains, not actually become heroes or villains. And it's very good. Justin so consistently plays probably the funniest characters in the show. Taco is absolutely the funniest character in Balance. Duck Newton is absolutely the funniest character in Amnesty, and Master Fearbolg is definitely the funniest character in Graduation. This is gonna sound like it wouldn't be very funny, but it is. There is a point where the Fearbolg takes an accounting class, and I swear to God, even as I sat at my desk doing accounting, because that is my job, I was laughing my ass off because it is the fucking funniest thing I have heard in so long. So there's not really much to talk about with Graduation quite yet because there's only, I think, 8 or 9 episodes or something. So like the deeper plot sort of hasn't unraveled yet. The most recent episodes are them going on like a Mission Impossible sort of thing where they have to clear imps out of a hospital. The arc is literally called Mission Imp Hospital, which I think Travis just titled it like that because he thought it was a really good pun, and it is, and I love it. So yeah, since Graduation is still very, very early in, I would highly, 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 highly recommend getting into the Adventure Zone right now. If podcasts aren't really your thing, the cartoon is coming up eventually. I don't know if they have like a date for it, but the cartoon is coming up for the Adventure Zone Balance. Definitely give that a look. And hey, if you're a comic person, I think the first 2 arcs of the Adventure Zone Balance are currently adapted into comics, and you can just like go get them. You can buy them right now, and you should definitely do it because they are excellent. The art is amazing, and they are apparently working to fix some of the foibles that they had with the original podcast. Anyway, I was gonna end the video just now, but I think I have one more thing that I want to say. And on the off chance that Griffin, Travis, Justin, or Clint see this video, hey, you guys are doing a fucking phenomenal job with the Adventure Zone. Don't change a single thing that you were doing with it. It's absolutely fantastic. And I have every faith in you guys that graduation will be just as good as balance, and at least just as good as amnesty. Anyway, that's been this video. This was a hell of a lot longer than I expected. And there's definitely some stuttering and mumbling, but hey, I'll get there. Don't hate me. I have been Luka. I love you all. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night. And as always, good sleep.